I call Peter William Sutcliffe. Is it right that you have admitted both to the police and by your pleas that you have tendered in this court that you have killed 13 women?
I have.
You also plead guilty to attempting to kill 7 other women?
Yes. Peter William Sutcliffe wish to make a statement, and I want someone to write down what I say. I've been told I need not say anything unless I wish to do so, and whatever I say may be given in evidence.
Patricia Atkinson, 17th November 1980. William Cow, October 30th, 1970.
June Jordan, January 31st, 1978. Helen Whittaker, October 1st, 1977.
January 2nd, 1981.
I was doing a boring shift, so I got out of the car and walked down the road.
And I saw this car and his plates were a bit dodgy.
So I thought, you know what, I'll run them through the system. Right, mate, we've got a car here. Registration is LS29.
XDV. Alright, thank you. So yeah, they came back as unregistered, so we thought...
Go and have a word with the driver. I let him on the side of the car and knocked on the window.
You alright, mate?
What are you doing here?
Oh, nothing, officer. He seemed a bit defensive at first, and then I noticed his passenger.
Yeah, Steph. This is my uncle. We're having some time alone.
Well, sorry, love, but I just want to talk to your uncle alone, so if you could,
Get out of the car, please, mate.
What's the fucking problem, mate?
Well, if you look here on your plates.
You'll see that they're coming up as unregistered. Our system says. 1 second. Oh. We can take them in. Right. I'm sorry, sir. You're going to have to come in because we've had these plates through before. And, I mean, it's only procedure, sir. So if you'll stand to the side of the car, please.
Your hands up, please, mate.
Wait, calm down, mate.
You don't get arrested for dodgy plates.
The man
Peter Sutcliffe, matched recent descriptions of a mass murderer. You meet a lot of people working the streets. Some are nice. You actually have a good time. Others are shy. You have to take control. It's rare that you get soft, intimate moments, but when you do, you learn to make the most of them. Because most are just rough. They want to take control. Like, there was this one guy. He seemed nice at first, but I guess first impressions aren't really seen.
Let's talk about the first incident, Mr. Sutcliffe. Can you confirm it was with Warren McCann?
That was the incident that started it all off. I was driving, late at night. I'd been somewhere having a couple of pints, and I saw this woman thumbing the lift.
That night, I'd gone through my familiar routine. I left the house about 7:30, leaving my 4 kids behind. Night, Mom! Night, Mom! I left the oldest in charge. She just turned 8. And then I'd head out to the pubs and clubs, where I'd meet the guys I'd be spending the next few hours with.
Oh, you alright, babe? Oh, you are looking beautiful
All right, darling,
tonight.
you do me a few favours tonight. I'd head home in the early hours of the morning.
You alright? How far are you going?
Not far, thanks for stopping.
When she got in my car, she asked me if I wanted business, but I didn't know what she meant.
He seemed apprehensive, not like the others. I just wanted to make that spare bit of cash because, well, Tom needed a new school uniform. I didn't want to let him down. That's why I lived this life. It wasn't for me, it was for the kids. I didn't want to scare him off. He was the last customer of the night and I was getting desperate. Come on then, what are we waiting for?
She spoke as if it were a challenge. At first, she asked me to go with her, and I thought I'd agree, but we just sat there talking.
He seemed unsure, so I decided to take the lead. Come on then, let's get it over with.
She told me that it would cost £5. I was a bit surprised. I expected there to be a bit more romance. She got out of the car, and I was seething with rage, so I followed her. Hey, you can't run off like this.
Well, you can manage it now, can you?
I had a toolbox on the back seat of the car, and I took Camera out of the toolbox. I followed her into a field.
Come on, get it over with.
Don't worry, I will.
I may have given the impression, by what I've said to her and what she required, that the intent was to have sex. But this is not the case. This kind of talk was just a preamble, leading up to the true purpose.
The way you touched me, it wasn't like the others. It was rough. I wanted him to stop it. He pulled me into a nearby yard. There was a moment he turned away and I thought I could make a run for it, but he had a hammer and when I turned, he hit me on the back of the head. I just remember seeing the ground coming closer and closer. There wasn't anything I could do.
I think I was wearing my brown coat that night. I pushed the sleeves up to avoid getting blood on it, and she was just laying there on the ground. I thought I should make sure she were dead, so I pulled at her top, and I stabbed her in the lungs and in the throat. If I'd have just thought for a minute, then I would have told someone I'd hit her on the head with a hammer. But I didn't. I was in a blind panic that night, and I was stabbing her just to keep her quiet. What a damn stupid thing to do, just to keep someone quiet. That was the first time that I'd ever killed a prostitute. I got in my car, and I reversed down the road. I turned the car around, and thought I should check my clothes for blood. I checked my top and my shirt, and then I checked my shoes, and they were clean, so I went into the house. I went straight into the bathroom and I washed my hands. After I did this, I decided to get into bed. I don't have those clothes anymore. They're all worn out. should have seen her. She was all over me.
Oh my God, Careful getting over tonight, guys. I mean, I've heard about this guy on the news. He's been going around killing women. I mean, he just fucks them and then leaves them in ditches. I mean, what kind of sick bastard does that?
When I was at the pub, I felt like I was different. Around my mates, I felt like I could detach myself from the situation. It felt like it weren't me. And I was pretending to be someone else.
We have someone who checks people we let in, and as soon as the doorman is determined that he's a nice, clean guy who's not drunk of his arse, we let him in. They wipe their feet on the mat, and then they hang their coats on the designated coat rack. After that, we have a garçon that comes out and requests a tip. But sometimes they can be a bit fucking stingy. Inside my house of dreams, he'll find girls lined up in front of him. The more fun they have, the longer they want to stay, and the better it is for our business.
Commencing at 2:54 p.m. Suspect Peter William Sutcliffe is present. Do you understand why you're being held in custody?
You should be thanking me for ringing the word for those doors.
So, did you always go to the brothel to meet your victims, Peter?
No, not exactly, but there was this alleyway that I often picked them up from.
And can you remember any of their names, Mr. Sutcliffe?
One that sticks out in my mind is Helen.
Helen Whittaker. It hadn't been all that long before I met Peter. Maybe a few weeks. I'm not that sure. But I do know that he was one of me first and, well, me last.
So what drew you to Helen in particular?
I mean, I hadn't seen her around there before. She was something new. I heard she had a sister, but I'm not quite sure of her name.
My twin sister, Rita, and I dealt with them together. She took one, I took one. The routine was quite straightforward. 20 minutes was all we gave them, then we meet back up together. That's the way things were. That was all I knew.
It wasn't till I was with her that I realised she was so young.
So what were your intentions after realising that she was a girl so young?
On that night, though, I guess things were a lot different. I was picked up around an hour later after Rita. I don't really know what happened to her after that, because I never saw her again.
So, do you have a place we can go?
Well, that's for you to decide.
How about the timber yard round the corner?
Well, I am used to getting wood round there.
Things were made awkward from the moment I started her car. Because she rolled up her skirt and seemed prepared to start straight away.
Once the engine was off, he seemed a little more awkward after that.
From the outset though, the one thing I had in mind was to kill her the first opportunity.
What happened from there?
It was very awkward for me to find a way of getting her out the car. We were there 5 minutes or more while I was trying to decide which method to use to kill her. Against my wishes, she was in the process of arousing me sexually. I found out I did not want to go through with this, so I got out the car.
Once I got out the car, I felt a small scrape from above my head. What was that?
Just a small sample of one of these.
Grabbing me by the hair, he dragged me to the end of the woodyard. I felt dazed and scared, dropping in and out of consciousness. He got on top of me and covered me mouth with his hand.
Just keep quiet and you'll all be alright.
It seemed like an eternity and I was struggling. It was quite forceful of me, and I was scared. I realised I had no option but to get on with my job and sleep with him. As he leant over me, the street lamp reflected light off something shiny in his hand, and I soon realised his intentions were different to mine. I tried to make me escape, and I felt something punch at my stomach. I put my hands where I felt the pain, and I realised I was bleeding. He then slashed again at my throat and stabbed me repeatedly in the stomach to make sure I was dead. He then dumped my lifeless body a few yards away and said nobody would come for me there.
I had been taken over completely by his urge to kill. And I couldn't fight it. My desire to kill prostitutes was getting stronger than ever. Practically uncontrollable.
So, where did you meet your next victim?
It had been 82 days since the last attack. After a housewarming party, I drove my parents home to their home in Bingley. However, after realising I couldn't return, I went on to Manchester to see what I could find. I could not justify what I had done, but I felt an inner compulsion to kill a prostitute.
So, did you pick anyone up that night in Manchester?
Yes, a lady called Jean Jordan.
It weren't easy balancing this life with murder, but I had to. I had no other choice. My husband, Alan, weren't too good health-wise, so I had to bring in the money for the kids. I resorted to this life even though I hated it. The feeling of being touched by another man sickened me. I was ridden with guilt because I loved my husband, but I endured it because I also loved my kids.
Did you ever talk to your victims about their families?
I thought we were born in it. None of that alive with people that I killed. So I didn't ask. Soon, I came to realise I was in a world of my own, out of touch with reality.
So how did you find your next victim?
I was dressed in an overcoat, standing at the side of the road, trying to stop drivers from the pavement. He stopped and wound the window down and asked me how much I charged. After telling him £5, I got into the car. I didn't know it at the time, but he didn't want intercourse with me. He just wanted to get rid of me.
What did you do with the £5 note after you'd killed her?
I left it there. It wasn't intentional. I should have covered my tracks. I was called in for questioning about this, but my strong alibi driving my parents home meant I escaped without suspicion.
And what did you do with her when she got into your car?
He led me into a nearby greenhouse, which supposedly belonged to his uncle. He told me it was inevitable, that he felt like someone inhuman. It was a devil driving him against his will, that he was a beast. At first, a strong sense of remorse, but this quickly disappeared as he removed the hammer from his back pocket. He tried to hit me, but I ran. But he swung again, and this time, I fell down. I started moaning, took hold of my wrist, and dragged me to the entrance of the greenhouse. Taking vent to his frustrations, he picked up a piece of broken glass and slashed it across my stomach. I
was nauseating smell which made me reel back and immediately vomit. It was horrendous. He told me it was his intention. He'd taken a hacksaw out of his car, intending to remove my head. It started soaring through my neck, but the blade must have been blunt because it was getting nowhere at all. He said if he'd cut my head off, he was going to leave it somewhere. Make a big mystery out of it all. He didn't wait around much longer. He jumped into his car and drove off home.
Killing prostitutes had become an obsession with me. I couldn't stop myself. It was like some sort of drug.
Did you ever drug any of your victims before killing them, Peter?
No. I would never disorientate my victims or stunt their ability to decide whether they wanted to come with me. They all made that decision for themselves. Killing prostitutes had become an obsession with me. One woman that I picked up on my visit to Bradford was a drunkard, but that was self-inflicted.
And what was her name, Mrs. Sutcliffe?
What was her name, Sutcliffe?
Patricia Atkinson. She was the only woman that I murdered in the comfort of her own home. I was driving down the road in my Corsa and I could see her banging on the roof of a Mini, shouting.
I fucking told him where to get off. I've got a flat, we can go there.
I drove her to the flat and we parked up outside. She told me she were alone, so I took my hammer with me.
As we were walking down the corridor, I remember trying to seduce him, but every time I touched him, it's just like he wasn't interested in me. And he just turned away.
From her drunken state, all she wanted to do was have sex with me. She didn't seem to understand that I didn't want her touching me. I was never in it for the sex.
I walked ahead of Peter slightly and then, eventually, he started to commence some sort of physical activity with me, but it just made me feel sick. As we got to the door of my flat, I can remember trying to sort myself out, but he just got impatient and I didn't want to anger him. I tried to pleasure him in some way, but he just pushed me off forcefully. I laid there with my back to him and thought of all the things I'd heard in the news about the Ripper. I was just so scared. So I hoped that he'd get the message and go away, but instead he tapped me on the shoulder and I was no longer in the mood.
I tried to create some physical intimacy, but she weren't interested. She just pushed me away. So I reached for the hammer.
I heard him fumbling behind me, and I felt a sharp knock to the back of my head. I turned around, saw he had the hammer in his hand, so I pushed him away forcefully. He grabbed my wrist and flipped me on my back. He made another swing, but I rolled out from underneath him. I then ran out the door of my flat and hoped he wouldn't follow me. The empty corridors echoed my footsteps. I just felt so dazed and petrified. It's like the walls were closing in on me and I didn't know what to do with myself. I could gradually feel him getting closer and closer. And I just didn't know what to do. I then saw the empty fire escape and hid in there, hoping he wouldn't find me. He slashed me across the throat. And as my body fell to the floor, he stabbed me in the stomach again. Just to make sure I was dead. And he left my body there to rot.
You have any requests?
My only request is to call my wife and tell her what's going on.
That's fine. We can accommodate that.
Hello? Who's this?
Sonia? Sonia, it's me. Peter,
What's going on? Where are you?
Sonia, I need you to listen. I'm going to tell you something very important. I'm at the police station.
Oh my God, are you alright?
I don't have very long. It's me. I killed all of those women.
Peter, what do you mean you're scaring me?
You know all those women killed by the Ripper? That was me.
Oh, Pete, how could you? Even a sparrow has a right to live.
I call Peter William Sutcliffe. Is it right that you committed both the police and by your pleas that you have tendered in this court that you have killed 13 women?
I have.
You also plead guilty to attempt to kill 7 other women.
Yes.
What was it that happened at Bingley Cemetery that you particularly remember whilst you worked there?
I heard what I thought then, and think now to have been the voice of God. I was in the process of digging a grave, and the voice was coming directly from the top of the gravestone.
I was kind of transfixed by the voice. I read on the gravestone the Polish word Gecko, which I presume meant Jesus.
It had a terrific impact on me. It was starting to rain, and I remember going up to the top of the slope overlooking the valley, and I felt as though I just experienced something incredible. I looked over the valley and thought of heaven and earth and how insignificant we all are. But I felt so important at that moment.
Why did you feel important?
Because I felt as if, for some reason, I'd been spoken to by the words of God.
Have you ever stopped thinking that it was the voice of God?
Maybe. For a day or two, but never more than that. I felt disappointed if I'd killed someone and it turned out that I hadn't been a prostitute, as I was quite convinced that they were. But after all, God didn't make mistakes. The newspapers did.
Helen Whittaker, October 1st, 1977.
January 31st, 1978.
Roman McCann,
October 30th,
Patricia
1970.
17th November 1980.
If you wish, you may have a solicitor on your behalf.
No, I don't need one. I just wanted my story to be told. I'm glad it's all over.